This is it, it's the ultimate updated version of my ARR Stack. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to build it and how to configure this setup from scratch. All step by step, so you will end up with the entire new automated ARR Stack up and running. And this ARR Stack includes Radarr, Sonarr, Prowlarr, Jellyfin, qBittorrent, Lidarr and Bazarr, but you can easily add more services if you wish. And this stack runs as a single Docker Compose file, which means it can run natively on every Linux system with Docker installed, and if you have Windows or Mac, then it's also possible to run it, but you need a tool like a Docker Desktop, for example. And I can run this ARR Stack with a single command. The Docker Compose app-d command brings up all the services at the same time, and then I can log on to every single of them using the specific port. And now, you might remember my video from last year where we built a similar stack using Glutan VPN. And that setup still works great. And if you strictly want that VPN container workflow, that video is still a valid resource. However, a lot of things changed since then, and recommendations from the trash guides and the Servarr Wiki have evolved, so we have to adjust quite a few bits here. Because I don't want to rewrite that old stack and push to GitHub, because it would become irrelevant for that old video, instead I decided to revisit this subject and provide you with the new ARR Stack with multiple changes and improvements made, so it follows all the best practices that you can find on the trash guide and the Servarr Wiki. And we will go through entire Docker Compose file and the service setup. By the end of the video, you will not only understand what that Docker Compose file is about, what it's doing, but you will also know how to fully configure everything up. We've got everything like hard links and everything else. It will be working as expected, simply. And yes, let's maybe have a look at the old Docker Compose file first, that one with Glutan VPN. You will notice that Radarr and Sonarr, they downloaded the material to the downloads folder, and then, once it was downloaded, it would then be copied to the new movies or TV folder, and then they would remove the old file in that old location. And that was done following the best Docker practices. Trash guides say that this is suboptimal because the copy process is unnecessary there, and if we use different folder structure, the system will be able to use so-called hard links without need to copy the file. While we will still end up with the similar result, the entire process will actually become much more efficient. And you will see it later on. And in that previous video, we tunneled the traffic via Glutan VPN, didn't we? But looks like it caused many problems for people, because the general advice from Servarr Wiki is that now you should just stick to the Secure DNS and call it a day. In this video, I will show you how to configure that Secure DNS and make sure your ARR Stack uses that Secure DNS instead of Glutan VPN tunnel. I mean, my setup worked fine, to be honest. It still works fine with the Glutan VPN, but if there was an issue, then I understand why they moved to that Secure DNS solution. And next improvement in the new ARR Stack is that we will create a custom bridge network specifically for that ARR Stack. This allows containers to talk to each other using the service name, for example, like Radarr or Prowlarr. Then, it will simplify the config and make it all clearer. There is another improvement that we will use Docker Compose rather than Docker Compose. And you are like, what the heck? Notice that little dash. We used to use Docker-Compose, which is Python-based package, and now we are going to use Docker-Compose, which is Lua, written in Lua. It's a different programming language, but this solves some issues, because some people get, for example, package Python 3 distutils has no installation candidate. That's what the error said. That's simply because we use that old Docker Compose package, which is no longer really supported. We should move to Docker Compose. And yes, you could simply install distutils for the old package, but this one is also better, newer, different package that we are going to use. Another interesting thing is do not use Portainer. It's not advisable. I never used Portainer, to be honest. I have always run my ARR Stack directly in CLI, and occasionally I used Portainer only to view the status of the containers, but basically to run entire stack I always used CLI anyways. But now the official statement is that the Portainer is not recommended, and you should stick to CLI to build and run your ARR Stack, which we are going to do. Yet another thing, I am not going to use .env file. for this ARR Stack. And you will see it's just like a single Docker Compose file. Everything is included in that single file. That's because I think it makes it easier to understand for many people if all the information is included in that single Docker Compose file rather than split between Docker Compose and .env. But if you want to use env file, then check the very first ARR Stack video, which is even older, and you can check the code on the GitHub for it, because that will give you an idea of what the setup with .env file should look like, and you can rewrite this stack if you simply want to use that .env file. But here we are going just use one long Docker Compose file. And they all might seem like little improvements, but if we combine them, this ARR Stack will be much more efficient and even easier to set up than ever before. Okay, let's start building it then. I'm talking and talking, let's start doing stuff. And as I said, this ARR Stack can run on nearly anything. You can even run it on Raspberry Pi. But if you want to run it in Proxmox, just as I do, I run it in Proxmox, then I will quickly show you how to configure a virtual machine for it. Because previously I ran it in LXC, and even though it was running great for years, it is not advisable to run Docker within LXC container. Hence I will move it now to the VM. Alright, so this is my Proxmox, and let's create that VM. And let's start fiddling with the ARR Stack. I say create new VM, and let's make it ID, I don't know, 222, it's not used. And for the name, I will say maybe new ARR Stack, new R, that's it. Next. Now the ISO image, I will use Ubuntu 24 Servarr. This is my recent favorite image. It doesn't have desktop environment, but we don't need one. So that's basically it. I say next. Here we can leave everything. And the disk size, well, I will need quite a lot. If I want to download to this local VM, then I will need quite a lot. But if you have some external storage, then it might be different for you. I will say maybe 400 gig. That's what I want to set here. I will click that advanced. I will enable this card and SSD emulation because this is SSD drive this Proxmox is running on. So I will say next. Now I will give it 2 cores and I will change the CPU to host. But this is up to you. Host gives you the best performance, but there are reasons why you might not want to use it. But I will not dig into it right now. I will click next. The memory, yeah, that's fine. I don't need that ballooning, but 2 gig is fine. I will say next, next, confirm. No, sorry, finish, I mean. Now it's being built, and we can see it here. So I will click on it, and I will say start. It will start, so I will go to console, and it says try or install Ubuntu Server. I click enter, and we will install it now. And regarding the SSD, I gave it 400 gig. You can start with lower number because it's easy to increase the SSD size. It's much more difficult to decrease it. I say 1 second, it's too small. I'll double click on that. Alright, I say now English UK. It gives me bigger window. Yeah, hopefully you can see it better. And now I say done because it's English UK. Yes, that's correct. Here Ubuntu Server, that's correct. I say done. Just click enter. And here I want to change the IP address to static. Currently you can see it's DHCP assigned, but all addresses above 200 I can assign statically. I will just edit IPv4. I say not automatic, I want manual. And I say 192.168.1.0/24 is my subnet. The address for this VM is 192.168.1.222. I will match the ID of this virtual machine. The gateway 192.168.1.1, which is my router, and name server, I will give it 1.1.1.1, which is Cloudflare. Search domains, empty, and I say save. Now I've got static IP address, so I can say done. Proxy, no, I don't use proxy. We should get the output. It should check if it can reach the packages repo, and it can, so I say done again. I click enter. Here I will use basic setup. I will untick this LVM group. Nothing wrong if you want to use it. It's easy to expand, etc. But for this setup, I will just stick to basic ext4 file system. So I just say done. That's the summary. We can see 400 gig is my partition, formatted as ext4. That's cool. I say done. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, I'm sure. And now my name is Marek. My server name is new R. Username also Marek. And password, some password. This is so you can SSH to your virtual machine. I say done. Ubuntu Pro, no, thank you. Install OpenSSH server, yes, I need that. I click enter, it will tick that box, and I say done. Nothing from here that I would need, although there are interesting positions like SABnzbd, related to ARR Stack as well, but you can run it as a Docker as well. So I say done, and it's now being completed. It's installing kernel, and this is now completed. It says installation complete. I say reboot now, just down arrow and enter. It's rebooting. It will give me, it looks like error, but it's fine. Failed unmounting CD-ROM, you will always get that, just press enter, and that's it. The server should be up and running in a moment. And it's great. I can log in here, but you know what, I will close this window, and I will open terminal, which should give me even better resolution, should be even clearer for everybody. So I say SSH, my username was Marek at 192.168.1.222. That's the IP address I gave my server. I click enter, I say yes, and the password I just configured on it. That's cool. I will clear it, and you can see it's a new R. It's called new R. Let's make it even bigger. And what I can do now, I can go to the GitHub repo. It's my GitHub repo. It's github.com, automation avenue, R new it's called. And you will find two files here. It's one is readme, and the other one is Docker Compose itself. By default, you land on the readme page, which is great because that's what we need. And it says ARR Stack new version. Below the instructions are for Debian and Ubuntu, but if you run it on different operating system, you just have to pick correct commands from the links provided. You will see. And first point is install Docker Compose and prepare environment. Install Docker Compose as per instruction is in this link. So let me open it in a new tab, and so go to install on the left, here install on the left, and then plugin and scroll down to install using the repository. So plugin, scroll down, install using the repository. And as I said, I run Ubuntu, but if you have different operating system, you simply choose your operating system here. I click on that Ubuntu, and what you can see here is I copied those commands, but you don't have to use these. You simply can copy directly from the Docker docs. I use those little squares, it will copy everything here. So let's go back to my terminal, and I just paste it. Press enter, and it will ask me for my admin password, which is the one we configured for this VM. That's running, and that's it. Let me maybe clear that. Took just a few seconds. So let's go back, and then run blah blah blah. This is simply next command from the docs. If we scroll down, you can see to install the latest version, run this apt install docker blah blah. I click those squares again, I paste it here. Press enter, I say why, or I can just simply press enter because it's default choice anyways. And that installs all packages, Docker, Docker Compose, and anything else that we need. Job done, again just few seconds, I will clear again. That was this first line. Now sudo systemctl status docker, that's also from this guide, sudo systemctl status docker, just repeat it in my document, I'm not sure why, but we can see it's active and running for 24 seconds. I press Ctrl C, go back, docker run hello world. Well, that's actually how you test your Docker, if the Docker works correctly. It will pull a very simple image, and it should tell you like hello Docker something. Let's just click those squares, go back here, run this command, and you will see what I mean. Unable to find image that's correct because we've never run the Docker. This image is not available locally, it has to pull it, but pull was complete and it says hello from Docker. That means Docker works as expected. We clear again, go back to my instruction, and I don't think this portion is here. I think that's it basically. We tested the Docker, but we don't know if Docker Compose, which is separate component, if that works correctly. So you run Docker Compose, and you can see many arguments that you can add. For example, one of them is version. Let me clear again. I will click up arrow, Docker Compose version. And that's great. I can see the version 5.02, which means Docker Compose is also installed and it runs as expected. That means we have Docker and Docker Compose. Let's go further. I think we can close the Docker docs now, we don't need that anymore, and it says this stack was created following this trash guide. I will again open in new window, sorry, not in new window, in new tab I want. This is it. If we scroll further, this is what I need. This is all about those hard links I was talking about. If we scroll even further, and let's check at the instruction, create the folder structure, and we will create for torrents only, but if you use torrents and usenet, like NZBget or SABnzbd, you will also see, basically here we've got two different commands. The first one is if you use usenet, and usenet is like a usenet clients, yes? NZBget and SABnzbd. But in our example, I will show you setup with qBittorrent. That means we use this one. If you use torrents, use this command. Make directory, entire path, data, and then it will create, within that data, it will create torrents and media. And these are subfolders. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go back first here, and before I run even that, let's run this sudo apt install 3. Because I want to show you what it looks like now. Okay, and now I say 3 data. We've got folder called data on this server, but currently it has no directories and no files. So I go back to those trash guides, and if I run this command, we use this one, remember? I mean, nothing wrong if you run that one, to be honest, because it will simply add this portion, the middle one, but let's just follow the guide. I will copy this one to clipboard, I will run it. Sorry, it's sudo. As you can see, we have to add sudo, yes? Sudo make directory. So let's go back, up arrow, go to the beginning, sudo. Now we created them, and if I run that 3 data again, you can see inside data we've got all those folders. We've got media and torrents, and inside media we've got movies, music and TV, and inside torrents we also have movies, music and TV. Let me cd to data media, let's say, and if I run lsl, indeed that's true. But because I run them with sudo, they belong to user root. If we go back to the instruction, we've got this, we've got that, we run that. I can now say sudo change owner recursively, and owner will be with the ID 1000 and group ID 1000, and everything that is inside this data will be owned by this user. So if I run this, I say paste, and if I rerun the command, previous command, lsln, you will see now it belongs to user with ID 1000 and group ID 1000, exactly as specified here. It's basically following this trash guide. It explains why it's done this way and etc. You can read through that, of course. For example, media server, Jellyfin, it needs only that data media folder. That's what we will configure as well. And then the permissions, while here it says user, the variable, I wanted to be more specific, that's why I chose 1000, because in Docker Compose we will have that specific user 1000 and group 1000 configured for all our containers, you will see. We run that one next. It modifies the permissions. If I paste, press enter. If we run lsln, we can see the permissions, which are here on the left, changed slightly. But let's just clear that. That's it for the folders. And now, trash guide compose configuration can be found here. If we close that one, we open this one in new tab. That's basically the same page. It just means you scroll even further, and here you've got Docker Compose. You click on that arrow, and this is the example of Docker Compose file, what it should look like. You can see the images are pulled from the GitHub, for all of them I think. It uses user ID and group ID of 1000. That's why I configured it using these values rather than variable user. We can be sure that it will be 1000 because we hard-coded it. These are all configured as per this example. Let me maybe show you, yes. Let's duplicate this, because on this GitHub page, one is the README file we are just reading right now, but the other one is Docker Compose. And this is the Docker Compose file we are going to use. And you can see the image is pulled from GitHub. The volumes, if you check volumes, you will see they are exactly as per this example. And you may say, hey Marek, where is this? Yeah, it's missing. No, it's not missing. If we go back, and I scroll up to the very top, basically this configuration has to be applied to every single container, because that's the information that repeats for every single container. What you can do, you can use these XCommon keys, you can mark it as common keys, and then look at the first line here. Every single service will have that little thing at the very beginning. That means it will pull all of those values. These 9 lines, or whatever it is, these 9 lines will be applied to every single service, to Radar, to Sonarr, to Lidar, Bazarr, etc. Because of this first line. It will import all those values. So instead of repeating this information everywhere, and instead of using .env file, which we could also do, I simply decided to build it yet another way, which is this. It's just one file, no .env, but we will use this to import all those values to every single container. Hope that makes sense. That's why I dare to claim that this stack was created following this trash guide. Even though it doesn't look exactly like this, it does follow the trash guide. Okay, let me close both of those tabs for a while. And you can find more information here on Servarr. If we open in a new tab, you will find even more information, including the one, the Portainer should be avoided. It's for every service and now displays that. But you can go through them, see how it should be configured. This is wiki.servarr.com website. And it says, my Docker Compose file can be found here. If we open in new tab, it actually takes you straight to this Docker Compose. You don't have to look for that. You can simply use this link. And we have to run this Docker Compose file on our server here. Let me see the to data. So I'm here, yes, /data. That's where we created those folders, media torrents. And what I can do, I could use command like git clone, and this will work. But if you, for example, haven't got Git installed or you are not familiar with Git, then you can simply copy-paste it, like that. Sudo nano docker compose YAML, we will create one. Sudo nano docker compose YAML. 1 second. Sudo nano, yeah, I thought I missed it, nano, but no, it's here. Sudo nano docker compose YAML, you press enter, that will create a new file, and now here is the docker compose. I can simply click that, copy raw file, it says. I click on that, go back to my server, and I paste it. And that's it. Now I say Ctrl-O, Enter, Ctrl-X, and it's saved. If I run LSL, I can see it here, and if I run cat, Docker Compose, I can see this full file here on my server already, without using Git. Alright. But it will work either way. You can use git clone as well. And note that the host names are not needed. If you check the trash guides, you would see that under every container name you had also host name. We will not use host names because if you scroll to the very bottom, you will see we create a dedicated network just for the ARR Stack. That means we can simply use the service name, which is like Jellyfin, qBittorrent, etc. We don't need host names really. This simplifies this stack even further. No need for host names, alright? Okay, and that's basically it. We've got everything. We can now run sudo docker compose app-d. Let's do that. Make sure you are exactly where your Docker Compose file is, and now run sudo docker space compose. We don't want that dash anymore here. It's Docker Compose, newer package, Lua based, and we say app-d. Sudo docker compose app-d. I press enter, and for the first time it will take a while. As you can see, it's pulling images, and this will take longer because no images are locally here on my server. So it has to pull all the information from the internet. I mean all the images, so it can then run them as Docker containers. And that's the job done. Well, it didn't take long, 14 seconds or something. And now, believe me or not, all services are up and running. We've got Radar, qBittorrent, Sonarr, Lidarr, Jellyfin, Bazarr, Prowlarr. They're all up and running. Let me close this one maybe. Let's go back to the README file. It now says to configure services. Here is, I believe, repeated information from what you will find in the trash guides. But what we need to configure services. And we start with qBittorrent. First, we need to find the temporary password that qBittorrent creates. So we need to run sudo docker logs qBittorrent. Let's do that. Sudo docker logs qBittorrent. I press enter, and this is it. It says username is admin, and the temporary password is this. So I will copy it. And now I can't use the local host because I'm not on the local host. If you are on the same host that you run your RStack on, then you can use localhost. But this is completely different virtual machine, and my RStack is running on Proxmox. What I have to do, I have to run http:// and IP address of my Proxmox virtual machine, which is 192.168.1.222. That's what we created. Virtual machine for our RStack. HTTP 192.168.1.222 on port 8080. I press enter, and this is my qBittorrent user interface. So no localhost, yes? I pasted IP address instead. And this is my password. I think I had it copied, but never mind. It says admin, and paste the password. Login. I don't want to save the password because first thing I will do, I will change this password to something I will remember. And if we go back to those instructions, you will see, if you are on the host, use localhost. If you are on other device in your network, then use that IP address. That's what we did. And now go to Tools, Options, Web UI, and you can change user and password. Tools, Options, here, Web UI, username, it can be left as admin, but password, I want my own. I will scroll down and save it. That's it. It now uses my password rather than this temporary one. Let's follow the guide further. This is it. We changed user and password. Now, in the left panel, go to Categories and add categories. Movies, movies, TV, TV, and music, and path, also music. It's here. We can see categories. Right-click, add category. First one will be movies, and path will be movies. And I will go back to it. You might be wondering why just movies. We'll go back to it, alright? I say OK. This category has been created. I will create another category named TV, save by path TV, and add category music, save path music. So we've got three categories. Category movies is for radar, music for lidar, and TV is for sonar. And it's important you create those categories first before you go any further, because I noticed once you follow the further steps, you might have problems creating those categories. They kind of disappear for some reason, I don't know why. But we've got them already here, so we can follow the guide further. And now, with those categories created, go to Tools, Options, Downloads, and make sure your settings match this. Let's open this in a new window. Let's see what it is. Geez, not new window, but new tab. That's what I meant. That's basically what we did already, the first portion. And now if we go further, Sonarr is something we are going to configure next. But this portion explains why we put only TV, for example, in the saved path. This is because this path will be appended to the main path, where all of the torrents go. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go to those Tools, Options and Downloads in qBittorrent, Tools, Options, Downloads, and what you can see here is default save path, and that default save path has to be configured to data torrents, because that's what matches our folder structure. Remember? Data torrents. Let's go back here. Let me clear that maybe. If I run 3, we are in data folder already. Our torrents have to go to torrents, data torrents. If I run lsl, being in data, they have to go to torrents, and then inside those torrents, each category will go to separate folder created here. We already created those folders, and this is simply appended to this. This is the main path where all the torrents go, and then based on category, they will end up in separate folders right there. If I here say default save path is data torrents, it's even displayed here, it can read that path. We've got data, media and data torrents. We choose this one as default one, and you can imagine these ones, these categories, as appended to that main path. So it will be TV, movies and music, but it will be appended automatically. But we have to configure it as it's shown here. So it says default torrent management is automatic, while here is manual. Let's change that. And if we go to my instruction, so automatic relocate torrent, switch affected, that should be fine. But then you have to tick both boxes for use subcategories and to use category path in manual mode, which means those two. You have to tick them. And it's important because it's not shown here. Look, it uses old version of qBittorrent and this information is not shown here. But you have to tick those two, alright? So let's go further and we save it. And yeah, I mean, I played with it for a while. Initially, I had some problems with that. It says, if you still have problems, you can simply swap the entire image, like for this one, with docker qBittorrent-nox, but it's not needed. It works fine if you follow the exact step. But this alternative image can be used if you need it, in case you need it. But that's it for torrent. That's all sorted. Now we have to configure Prowlarr service. And to configure Prowlarr service, I have to go again to host IP on port 9696, which means HTTP 192.168.1.222, port 9696. When you first log on to any of those services, then you will have to fill in that form. Authentication method form, username, I will call it maybe Marek here, and password. You will have to create username and password for each of those services, but only on the first logon. That's it. That's the Prowlarr. Why is it red? No indexers. Yeah, that's fine. We will configure one later on. We are on Prowlarr. Go to Settings, Download Clients. So Settings, Download Clients. Click plus and Download Client. Choose qBittorrent. Unless you decided to use different one. But yeah, we've got qBittorrent. I click plus. And where is it? qBittorrent. Okay. What do we do here? You have to untick the SSL. So I believe it is unticked. Yes, it is not ticked, but in case you've got it ticked, yeah, it has to be unticked. And as I said, with this dedicated network for the ARR Stack, we can use simply the name of the service, like qBittorrent. For host we use qBittorrent, and for port we use port 8080. I changed that localhost to qBittorrent. Port already is 8080. And I have to use the username and password that I created on qBittorrent. Username was admin, and the password, remember, the temporary one, I replaced that temporary with proper password. I mean here. Options, web UI. I used password here. I updated it. So I use whatever I pasted here, yes, in that password. That was my password, and I can test it. If I run test, you need this green tick. If you have that green tick, that means, if I run test it again, yeah, this is the green tick, that means Prowlarr can connect to qBittorrent correctly, which means we can save it. And you can see it green, enabled. That's cool. Anything else? No. Prowlarr is, that's it for Prowlarr for now. Now Radarr, again, host IP, port 7878. HTTP 192.168.1.222, 7878. Authentication again, form, username Marek. I'm lazy, so I use the same username and password for every service, but I don't think that's actually the best way of doing it, but never mind. You can create different user and different password for every service. And we are on Radarr. What do we do here? Go to Settings, Media Management. Alright, Settings, Media Management. Add root folder, and the root folder should be set to data, media, movies. Let's do that. Add root folder, data, media. Look at that, this is our location. I can even see my Docker Compose file. I mean here. Let's go to media. No, it's already here, 1 second. Data, and I can see all those files. Data, media, and movies. That's what I have to set my root folder to. That's what the trash guide says. I say OK, data, media, movies. That means data, media, movies. This folder will be used by Radarr. Once the qBittorrent downloads the file to movies, that file will be hard linked by Radarr to this media movies folder. You will see it later on. It will be shown as, it looks like it's in two places, but it doesn't take twice the amount of space. It is hardlink. This is the original location where qBittorrent will download all the torrents. It will be data, torrents, movies. And then Radarr will simply hardlink this location to this folder, because this is what we use for Radarr root folder. But you will see it later on when we download the file actually. You will see what I mean. For now, let's go back. Still in Settings, Media Management. Okay, we are still in Settings, Media Management. Click Show Advanced, Importing, Use Hardlinks. Show Advanced, and scroll down. Use hardlinks instead of copy. It has to be ticked. It is ticked by default, but just make sure it is actually ticked. That's basically what I was just talking about. Hardlinks allow Radarr to import seeding torrents to the media folder without taking extra disk space and without having to copy it really, because that's what happened in old ARR Stack. Here the hardlink is created immediately. There is no need to copy anything. That's why it's a better way of doing it. Alright, so we've got that hardlinks ticked, and optional, okay, you can also tick rename movies. I think it's at the top. Yeah, you can tick that. It's up to you. I will take it, you will see what it does. And import extra files, make sure the box is ticked. So import extra files. I think that's what you will find on the trash guides. And by default, SRT, the subtitles are only mentioned, but if you go here, I actually use those three: SRT, sub, and NFO. So I say sub, which is different format for subtitles, and NFO. Those three. But these settings are optional. Don't forget to save it. Save changes. That's saved. Let's go back. Settings, download clients, click plus. Settings, download clients, click plus. And qBittorrent, basically the same steps as for Prowlarr, with one exception, you will see. qBittorrent, yes, localhost, we will change it to qBittorrent. We can use service names because they are in separate ARR Stack dedicated network. Username was admin for qBittorrent, password the one that I configured in that web UI. But category we have to match whatever we created here. And for Radarr, we created that category called movies. We go here and we say movies. And now we can test it. I can see green tick. That means I can save it. Unless there was something else that I have to do. One sec. qBittorrent, blah blah blah. Change category to movies. Text, test, and save. Now that's fine. Now go to Settings, General, scroll down to API key. Settings, General, scroll down to API key. I copy this API key by ticking this box. And now go to Prowlarr, Settings, Apps, and click plus. I go to Prowlarr, Settings, Apps, and click plus. And I add Radarr, not Reader, okay? Reader, by the way, is no longer supported. Do not use Reader. We use Radarr, which is very similar, might be misleading. We use Radarr. Here is the API key. I have to paste it, the one that I copied. And here it says, change the server to Prowlarr and Radarr server to Radarr, because if you check what it is now, sorry, here, for Prowlarr. Prowlarr server, it says localhost. No, I can use the service name, which is Prowlarr. And Radarr server, also not localhost, I can use Radarr. We can use service names. Now I can test it, and it's green, so save. So I say save. And Radarr app was added. Yes, that's it. You can see how to configure each service for hardlinks here. Let's open it in a new tab. What is it? Ah, alright. That's basically example, yes. Oh, look at that. Import extra files, SRT. That's probably where I took it from. And use hardlinks. And you can also click that skip free space check. But it's not necessary. But root folders also, it's shown how they should be configured, alright? That's for Sonarr. This is for Radarr. That's what we configured, data, media, movies. Basically, we are still following the trash guides. Okay, let's go back to my guide. And we have to configure Sonarr. But it's basically the same thing like with Radarr, to be honest. Let me quickly do that. You go to host IP 8989, HTTP 192.168.1.222.8989 is the Sonarr. Again, authentication method, form, Marek, same password I will use. Save. Now, settings, media management. No, sorry, that's the most important. Setting, media management, add root folder. And we set it to data, media, TV, as you saw in the trash guides. Settings, media management, add root folder here at the bottom. Data, media, TV this time. And I say, okay, what else? Settings, media, show advanced, importing. So we are already here, show advanced. Rename episodes and importing. Use hardlinks, yes, that's what we did. It should be already ticked. Import extra files, SRT. I will add sub and what it was? And NFO. That's cool. Just remember to save it. Now it's saved. Optional rename episodes, also delete empty folder. So I think I didn't tick that. Here. Okay. But this is optional. Don't worry about it too much. And now settings, download clients, click plus. Settings, download clients, click plus, qBittorrent, here qBittorrent, antique SSL, username admin for qBittorrent, password for qBittorrent. Category, we have too much again, whatever we have in qBittorrent, which is TV for Sonarr. Here it's called TV Sonarr, we have to remove that, because we only have TV. And now we test it, we have green tick, which means we can save it. That's cool. And now, settings general API key. We have to copy API key to Prowlarr. Settings, general, scroll down, API key. We go back to Prowlarr. We add another application, which is this time, Sonarr, API key. And we change localhost to Prowlarr. Because this is for Prowlarr server, yes? We can just call it Prowlarr, as the service is called in the Docker Compose file, and Sonarr, we change it to Sonarr, which makes it much clearer, and you already know what it is about by just looking at it. We test it, green tick, which means we can save it. Cool. That's it, Lidarr. You know what, I'm not going through. It's basically again the same thing. So yeah, just let's ignore that. Restart service, might be a good idea to restart all services and see if they come up as expected. Because they are still running, yes? You can run sudo docker ps. We can see them up and running. If I make them wider, you can see 29 minutes already I'm recording this video. Alright. We can run sudo docker compose down and up again, just to see if everything works as expected. Sudo docker compose down. Stopping. That's it. And now if I say up -d, I'm expecting everything to be already up. It took just a second. They are all running. So if I refresh it, it will kick me out because I changed the password, and now I paste my new password, not that temporary one, and now I can save it because this one will stay. But you can see the categories are still here. The Prowlarr, I called the username Marek and the password was this. I can save that one as well. We can see everything is fine. Also Marek. Login, save. Everything works as expected. Awesome. What do we do next? That should be it. You need to add some indexers to Prowlarr, yes? And that's what I mean. Some people say, well, it's a common misconception that the ARR Stack is only for pirated content. In reality, these are powerful automation tools where you can pull loads and loads of copyright-free open source content, you know? You can pull anything that is in public domain or under Creative Commons licenses. And I gave you some examples of videos. You can even find indexers that are fully legal, like the Internet Archive. So basically what you do, you go to the indexers, to the Prowlarr, to the indexers, and you add a new indexer. If you say Internet Archive, these are public. There are indexers that you can find, and videos and TV series that are copyright free. So just Google for something like legal Prowlarr indexers and you will find loads of them. You might configure as many of them as you wish, you know, but once you've got them, then you can test your, for example, Radarr or Sonarr by pulling either video or TV series. Like, let's say this Night of the Living Dead from 1968. I will just go to Radarr to the movies. I will search for this video. This is it. I will just click on that and say add movie. It's shown as missing first, but then after a while you will see it will become queued. That's it. You can see it's violet or purple, or it's already queued. You can see it here in activity, and the progress is already, you can see the progress, yes? So we go to qBittorrent. You can see it's being downloaded. It's 9.8 gig, okay? A pretty big file, but look at that, it's going pretty quickly. So if we go, I want to show you something else, actually, it's going pretty fast. So you can see it in the background running. If I run 3, or maybe clear that first, then 3, you can see this file goes to data, torrents, movies. That's what we would expect, because it is in the categories movies. And it's moving correctly to the correct folder, I mean. And now we just have to, ETA is 3 minutes, so like 6 gig in 3 minutes, that's fine. But what we can check also, we can run du sch star. We can see the size increases only for torrents for now, which makes sense, because this file is downloaded to torrents movies. We've got 3.6 gig right now. If I run it again, we've got 4.1, etc. So let's wait until it completes, and we will see what happens here. You will see this file being hard-coded to this location by Radarr, but you will see kind of like, it looks like a copy, but let's wait, okay? It will be easier to explain later. And it's nearly there. Oh, there it is, it disappeared, which means if we go to Radarr, sorry, to movies, it will, now it's queued, it will soon move to the downloaded. The status should change to green. That means the hard link has been created for that, and it's wrapped up everything. Activity, it's a little bit behind with the refreshing, but yeah, give it a few seconds. Oh, now it changed, it's green. We can see total file size 9.8 gig. Let's say 10 gig, yes, roughly. Let's go back to our terminal. Let me maybe clear. I run 3 again. Look at that. We've got this file in 2 locations, torrent movies and media movies. Torrent movies is the folder for qBittorrent. Media movies is the folder for Radarr. But if we run our previous command, du.sch, have a look what happened. It is reported as now media folder is 9.9 gig in size, while torrent is just 76 kilobytes. But that alone doesn't tell us yet if the hard linking is working or not. And, oh, sorry, by the way, have a look. The renaming also works, yes? Look at this long, weird name here. But Radarr renamed it to something much nicer. So renaming works as well. But never mind. You can check if hard coding works as expected, and it wasn't the copy, it is hard link, by running ln-i, and then you can compare both locations. First location is data, media, I'm talking about those files. So data, media, and then movies, Night of the Living Dead. This is the folder. And, oh geez, sorry, ls, what am I doing? LSI. And you will have so-called inodes. You can check those numbers. 314 blah blah blah, yeah? These are 3 numbers. There are 3 files, and these are the inodes, so-called inodes for them. And now you can compare with the previous file, LSI in torrents. So it's data, torrents, movies, and here, Night of the Living Dead. Have a look. These are the same inodes. What that tells me is that this file is correctly hard linked, which also means the entire process is efficient and the total size is the size of a single file. It's not a copy, alright? It's simply a hard link. This one is hard link to this. Hope that makes sense. Jeez. Took longer than I expected, to be honest. Now, last but not least, you have to watch it on something. So if we go back to our readme file, you can see that we have to configure Jellyfin. That's very quick actually. It's port 8096, so we just go to HTTP again, 192.168.1.222 or whatever is your host, 8096. And this is our Jellyfin. So we just click next, and here you just create username and password. I will create the same as for any other services. Click next. And here we just need to match the media to the folders. So I just say add media library, and content type, let's say movies. And now I have to find the folder with the movies. So I just click that little plus, and I know my movies are in data, media, movies. That's basically our tree structure we talked about already a million times. And you can even see the film already downloaded, Night of the Living Dead, which is cool. I say OK, and that creates our media library. I can add another one, for example, shows, yes, TV shows, and I find my TV shows. They are in data media under TV, and so on and so on. You know, create music and whatever you want. It's fine. And then you just complete configuration. For me, it's United Kingdom. Next. Done. That's Jellyfin configured. And that's it, I believe. I talked about that DNS. You can see some troubleshooting steps. It's worth to have a look as well. Hardlinks, how to check if they work, how to add flare solver, but also this DNS check. For example, this command is to check if the radar is using the Secure DNS. So I will copy just that, and we will go here. Maybe let me clear that. And I paste it. And the output is external servers are 1111 and 1001, which are Cloudflare Secure DNS. But where do they come from even? Where they were configured? Well, they are in our Docker Compose file. They are at the very beginning, you can see. And all the other stuff as well. If your time zone is not Europe-London, then you have to adjust that time zone, alright? If you want to use different user ID and group ID, you can also change it here. And you can also use different DNSs for all your services. Whatever you put here will be used by every single service, because all those values are imported to those services. And you test them using the service name. And for Radarr, this is service name. Services Radarr. And by the way, to follow this process, to make it easier, I created a PDF document that you can download. Link is displayed here. But I mean, it's free of charge, of course. You simply can download this PDF file, which will guide you through all the steps. You will see some screenshots, you will see the commands. So not only GitHub, yes, repo, but you can use this PDF to make it even easier for you. And also, if you want to learn more about not only Linux and Proxmox, but also AI agents and cloud computing, then have a look at the Automation Avenue platform, where you can find loads and loads of materials. I really encourage you to have a look there and, just join our community. So I hope it helps, and thank you for watching.